He's been available, as I said earlier, for a week. We've known for 11 days now that he was going to be available, and there still isn't any real clarity. There's a lot of baseline. Teams have talked about him. The Bills aren't going to rule it out. I think that collectively the teams recognize this guy's financial expectations drop
right
before anybody's going to sign him.
Right.
And it must be that he's so far above what anybody's willing to do. There's not even anyone thinking, well, maybe if we just go a little bit more, we can get him. No, there's no little bit more here.
Yeah.
There's what he wants, and then there's far lower than that what everyone will pay.
Yeah, we've hit on it a lot, right, over the last 2 weeks, right? He's a little bit of the guy that I think scares teams to just throw out money to. Because of the age. We talked about the injuries, PEDs, all of that, right? He's not the type of guy, too, that, it needs to be a little bit of a system help, right? Even where OBJ, I know he's been out of football for a year, but OBJ's got the type of explosiveness, and you see it in workouts, and everybody sees it, where they go, wait, we can line him outside, and he can still run by anybody. It doesn't matter, right? DeAndre Hopkins is not that guy. DeAndre Hopkins is a guy that you're going to have to put in the slot and put in certain spots to get him open. And he'll read the coverage the right way, and he's physical over the middle like you see here and all that. But those aren't the type of guys that people want to throw big money to. And then like you're talking about, if he has a good 12, 13 games or whatever, is he going to ask for more money? How is that going to go? I think this is one where teams kind of just wait it out and wait for that number to go down and wait for him to get a little desperate. And then I think that's where a team like the Buffalo Bills will jump into this conversation.
Yeah, I think it's going to be Bills or Chiefs unless somebody decides, okay, fine, let's just go get him. We have to have him. And an injury could do that.
Yeah.
It can happen in OTAs. It can happen at minicamp. And at a certain point, Hopkins has to ask himself, if I'm not willing to reduce my expectations, my best interests are to wait and see what happens in training camp, what happens in the preseason. All it takes is one injury to a key receiver, and the door swings open for DeAndre Hopkins to have a landing spot and to get something closer to what he's looking for. Necessity will cause a team to overpay. And you've got plenty of teams now, and you're hearing it from like the Cowboys, they're not interested. The Jaguars, they're not interested. Well, yeah, they've got full complements of receivers.
They're stacked.
Get a guy injured, then all of a sudden you may be interested.
Right. That's where it's interesting, too. Usually we can find like 2 or 3 teams that we look at the Super Bowl window and go, oh, they definitely need a receiver to help them out. There is a little bit of a lack of that this year. Like you said, Jacksonville's fine at receiver. They don't need anything. Cincinnati, fine. They don't need anything. I don't think the Chargers need anything. That's why they're not going to be involved in that. Philadelphia, the 49ers, the teams that he wants to talk about being contenders, they're out of the receiver mix. Kansas City, I'm not even sold they really want to get in this. They probably will if it gets to a certain point. But from everything I know, they're very comfortable with their group they got there in Kansas City. Buffalo is still the one that when you just think like it just makes too much sense. They got Josh Allen, they're in the window, and there's a real need for another guy there at the receiver position. I just still feel like when it's all said and done, they're going to be the team he ends up with.
Yeah, I mean, I think for now they've got a number they're not going to budge from and see if DeAndre Hopkins eventually accepts it. But once he starts to drop, then you start to ask yourself, okay, who's going to make the move first, us or the Chiefs? And we had that Juju Smith-Schuster TikTok video from the outset of the show. He's not with the Chiefs anymore, but he was celebrating with them. They could use a Juju Smith-Schuster replacement, and that's where Hopkins could fit.
Yeah, no.
I mean, of all the contenders, that's the one that you would say, beyond Kadarius Toney and Travis Kelce, what do they have?
Right. Well, you're right. That's where, again, that's going to be maybe a little bit as they evaluate their receiver they picked, Rashee Rice, right, from SMU, where Mahomes worked out with him. I think he was picked, in theory, to be that Juju Smith-Schuster replacement. He's kind of got the same size and measurables. So I think that's where they're looking at that, right? And then, yeah, I don't know. How do they feel about, Marquez Valdez-Scantling and a few of the other guys they got on the roster there? Do they feel confident enough that they're good there? Maybe they're one of those teams that's just going to kind of wait it out like you're talking about, to kind of evaluate what they got and see if, that passed the smell test. And if it doesn't, maybe they'll jump in on the convo too.
Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.